Hello, everyone. I am Katie Novak. I am your new and possibly permanent host for the Innovator's Mindset. And today I'm going to be interviewing former host George Couros,
Former host.
as well as my guest today. George, thank you for joining us here on the Innovator's Mindset.
I gotta play music. You did nothing that I asked you to do, by the way, just so you know. My favorite was I said, hey, like this, I need you to do this one thing. And you're like, nope.
I did all of the things.
And this is why I knew it'd be great to have you on, because it's wild card time. Let's go. Let's see what happens.
This is my podcast, and no one's telling me how to run my own podcast.
You are the new, and I am the former.
That is right. And this is just a beautiful day where the innovator's mindset is going to turn over a new page. Dare I say we have entered a new season of innovation. And George, I am so excited here to take over your podcast, to talk about your book. And you know me as one of your besties. I don't love to blow smoke, and I don't love to compliment you. If there's any way around it, because I just want to keep it real. I want to be the friend who keeps it real. But after I read your book, Forward Together, Moving Schools from Conflict to Community in Contentious Times, I read it in one sitting.
Yes.
And then I had to actually say oh my gosh, this is your best one yet.
One sitting.
I loved it. I loved you. So what made you think of writing this book with this amazing title? Because it's boom, this is what we're dealing with now.
Listen, I will tell you, I really appreciate when I was getting a text from you, by the way. I was really excited because you're I'm reading this, and then you're I read the whole thing, and I was so excited about it. There was a little part where you're you're funny. You're hilarious. And I was first of all, you know this.
I do.
Secondly, I'm am I too funny? Maybe
no.
Good. All right. Okay. Well, listen, I was actually, I think one of the things that you see in education right now, all these negative conversations, right? And it's communities fighting and all this other stuff. And it's always bothered me. I think it bothers a lot of people. And you see how people interact on social media connection. And I was actually sitting this is totally true. So this book does not exist in my mind in June of 2025. Okay. So July, I'm sitting in LA Fitness, finishing my workout. A gentleman named, I think his name is Jesse Foz, and I apologize. He's mentioned in the book, so I know to spell his name. I don't necessarily know how to
Shout
say
out to Jesse.
That's right. And so he actually he tagged me on a tweet. And being the narcissist I am, I'm oh, I must be in it somehow. I must be in this video. So, of course, I watch it. So I watch the video. I'm nowhere to be found. And I'm okay with it because the video is incredible. It's actually these students who are having this little board meeting, and they're talking about the new goals for the school district. And now this is West Islip. It's in Long Island, New York. And I've worked there before. I've done some work with them. So that's why Jesse tagged me, because he's hey, check out the stuff that we're doing.
Okay, so Jesse was not lifting with you in the gym.
No, he was not lifting. He's just,
okay.
I'm at the end of I'm literally sitting on the calf machine.
Cooling down. You're cooling down.
Yeah, I'm doing my last set. And then I look at this, and it's these kids talking about, hey, we're building this, and it's a hilarious video. But then they're hey, we can't do this ourselves. We need the community to work together, and we need to bring you together because we want your fingerprints all over. I was oh my God, I have an idea for a book. And I came home, I said to Paige, I'm writing a book. So I actually went to Starbucks. It was a Saturday, and I started writing, and I mapped it all out. I contacted the superintendent because I know him. I said, your teacher and that video that you're in totally inspired a book. And then 2 weeks later, and you and I write the same, right? Once we're done, once we got an idea, we're good. And so, it was just because I think a lot of times we're talking about all the issues and all the problems, as opposed to here's what we should be doing. And they were the perfect example of that. And then I started highlighting, obviously, other examples, how other people do some of that stuff, but really kind of some of the things that I've messed up with over the time too. And I think that's, you mentioned it, so many people did, talking about some of the ups and downs of my own career, and trying to get people to really embrace new ideas, embrace new things. But yeah, I just saw that, and it's cool. When a book is inspired by a school district and kids, it is that was the best inspiration. Like I said, did not exist in my mind that morning when I went to the gym, and by the end of the day, the whole outline was done, and I wrote the first chapter, and let's go. That was it.
I love this. And also, everyone listening, like, tag George in your posts. Like, we need more of this magic.
Let's go.
Because you all know, right? Like, when you see that you're posted in social media, you're like, oh, this might go either way.
Right.
So I love this. And I've been so lucky to have presented with you a number of times. And one of the things that you say when you present, you said in this book, and I laughed out loud when I read it, which is like, okay, listen. I know
you hard caps LOL, and that made me feel really good.
Yeah, I mean, did I? Oh my gosh, yeah. I'd probably put a couple exclamation points and a red heart. It's my signature. And so when you present, you say things like, all right, everyone, like, I want to honor you as learners. And the only thing I'm going to ask, of you today is that you like interact with each other and me in the way that you want your students to show up every single day. And like, whenever I'm presenting with you, I'm always struck by how brilliant that is, because I think that there's this like tendency, and I'm going to take one for the team here, is that like, I'm like, I want people to treat me like this, but I'm busy. So when I'm in a PT, right, sometimes I get swept up and I'm like, oh, I'm going to check these things. And what I love about this is just like the vulnerability right from the beginning of like, listen, we're asking our kids to show up every day. We're asking our teachers to show up every day, but how are we showing up in this work? So talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, and it's funny because we were talking about this before the podcast. I think this is like kind of innately in teachers. There's a little like, don't tell me what to do. And we'll talk about that. And so a group reached out to me and they said, hey, you have to do learning norms today. I'm like, I'm not doing learning norms. Like, I don't like them. Because it's like, hey, we all agreed to this. I'm like, no, I didn't. I didn't agree to any of this. So where are you getting? I agreed. So I was like, they're kind of pushing me on this. So I was thinking, okay, what could I do that would, be true to what I believe, who I am, but also challenge some thinking? And it was, hey, I was asked to do learning norms, and I told them, I'm like, I'm not a big fan, but since I have to do it because this was asked of me, all I want you to do is this: learn in a way you'd expect from your students. Yep. And it's like interesting because people are like, huh, and then they start going, could we actually do that? Like, could we? Could we do that?
Is it possible? Is it reasonable?
And so but the thing that, and I think there's a lot of this in the book. I don't tell you what I expect from students. It is meant to be the conversation you have. It's like, well, what do we expect from students? And are we actually doing any of that stuff? And you can see like some of the interactions I talk about, some of the things that we post online, some of the conversation we have. If our kids did that, we would lose our minds. And then we see adults doing it, and we're like, well, yeah, because we're older, we're allowed to do some of these things. And it's like, well, what do you think the kids are picking up? Yeah. So it is meant to be like, what does that mean? And do we do that? And, if we can't do it, why do we expect it from our students? And maybe some of the things that we need to do change, right? And that is because there are times, this idea of like, and I've done this before, eyes up here, eyes up here, eyes up here, right? Like the whole.
I used to take it one step further. Right. It was full body, eyes and knees towards me. Right. I'm like, you better swivel. Right. You better swivel and face me.
Oh, there you go. I didn't know that. That was
eyes and knees, baby. Eyes and knees.
Well, here's the thing, and you might get me to look at you, but I ain't listening because I'm just staring at you. I don't know what's going on.
What about the knees? Do I get to see the knees?
Yeah, exactly. But so when I listen to people, I actually turn my head. And it is because my hearing is better.
Do you have better hearing in one side?
And it's actually, so my eye, so like there's times where, and it's kind of funny because eyes up here, Paige and I will have a conversation. I'll be looking right at her and she'll go, what did I say? I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea what you just said. Because I just start drifting off. Like I could be looking at you, it doesn't mean I'm listening. And so what it looks like for people is different. So I think it's just meant to be, hey, it's like a super easy learning norm, but it actually can start a really good conversation. Like, what do we expect from our students, and are we actually doing some of those things? So I think that's why I brought it up. But it's funny because it is that whole thing of like, don't tell me what to do. I don't want to do that. I hate learning norms. So I guess if you're gonna make me do them, that's what I'm doing.
But what's so true is like, again, students experience conflict all the time. Like,
Yeah.
human nature is that like we are going to spend a lot of time agreeing to disagree, right?
Right.
But like when students have these conflicts, we work so hard on like how do you do that in a way that like really honors the other person,
Yeah.
and how do we work together? And so many of even the innovators mindset characteristics
Hmm.
were about like, how do we be more reflective? How can we be
Yeah.
more collaborative? And then it's like as adults sometimes it's like do as I say and
Right.
not as I do. And there's something really beautiful about just acknowledging that, reflecting on that, and saying, okay, like how do we move
Right.
forward truly? We don't all have to be on the same exact page and agree about everything, but I think that we can agree in education that all of us, depending on where we're coming from, we want what's best for kids.
Totally.
And maybe we don't agree always on what is best for kids, but all of us are coming from that place where we're trying to help kids be as successful as they can possibly be. And let's find that common ground and then work forward with kids to create that space. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and one of the things I know that's true about you and I believe is like I've been at a point in my career where I was like, hey, we always got to do what's best for kids, right? But you and I both believe you have to really serve teachers, the community,
Yeah,
to do
yeah.
what's best for kids, right? But sometimes it is having some of those conversations like, hey, how are we learning? How are we doing this? And are we actually putting you in a place where we're saying, hey, you need to be really innovative, think differently, but also do it exactly this way, right? So like it's not just a teacher thing, it's an admin thing too. It is, are
Yeah.
we actually setting up our community to be successful? Are we asking them to do something totally different what we expect from our kids? And I think that's part of it too. It's not just about, oh, teachers need to be better. It's like, hey, we need to think differently about how our experiences, the experiences that we create for each other. And so I think that's why that matters, because you can't really do what's best for kids if you're just hammering the adults all the time.
Right, right. Like one of the things that I always say is like Pollyanna of UDL is like all kids can experience success when we get the conditions right. But the same is true of adults, is like educators can show up and meet the needs of kids when we get the conditions right in the community, in the system, right, with high quality instructional materials and technology. And so I love that. And it's something that, again, we've presented together many times. I've seen you like continually build up. Like if we're going to support our kids, we have to support the adults who serve them. Now, one
What's
of the
interesting though? Can I just add one thing
oh,
here? And I think this is like
yes.
the epitome of this. This is the second time. So I've asked a few people to do this. This is the second
Okay.
one.
Wait, on my
And
podcast?
no. I've done this is the second thing where I've like asked you to talk about the book, some of your takeaways, things like that.
I know, but this
You
is
asked
my
me questions.
podcast
Yeah,
now,
sorry.
right?
Sorry. I've asked whatever. Anyways. So here's what's beautiful about this. I think it is fascinating. I've had two people. I'm like, hey, here's how I want this to look like, and no one's listened to me at all. But it's also I'm not offended by it because the first person, their personality totally came through on it. I was like, I know it's gonna be good, but I don't know what it's gonna be. Like whatever it is going to be a Katie spin on it. And I think that matters too, because I don't want everything to be exactly the same. It's like kind of giving you, some people are like, give me the exact structure, and that's okay
Yeah.
too. But I also want your personality and your strengths to, which is a big topic that I have in the book too. So yeah, this is totally different than the first one. And
Yeah.
it's like, but both of them have been awesome so far, but I have no idea what's going to happen. which
Yeah,
I love.
because when you're with Katie, you get what you get and
Yeah,
you
you
don't
get-
get upset.
Right.
Okay, so one of the other things that I love, and like I honestly will say this sometimes in presentations, and I always quote you of, like I'm talking about like, the changing systems and really thinking differently about the educational experience. And certainly I recognize that I'm going to say some things that are going to like spark ideas and make people kind of tense in different ways. And, I always say, like, my dear friend George always says, like, I am literally asking you as a colleague to challenge me
Yeah.
while I'm here. I'm going to make myself available. There's lots of breaks. I want to be challenged while I'm here. But please don't challenge me after I left when you're in the parking lot
right.
at the end of the day.
Right.
And it's like, I think that this is so powerful, is that like, we have to be able to like to be brave enough to kind of share our voices of like, you know what, this isn't my experience and I'm really struggling with this right now. But a big part of like coming together as a community is having these conversations and realizing that like communities aren't always like, let's hold hands,
Right.
let's skip around the fire. But like, so you always say that, and you've had a lot of people that will come and say, okay, I want to challenge you. And you're like, okay, beautiful, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
and
so why do you think that's so important, that like that's, something that's like all professional learning kind of honors that?
Well, because they're going to challenge you no matter what.
So it's
Right.
better.
I'd rather know. And I think that to me, like as much as we talk about like professional ethics, okay? Like, hey, if you have an issue, go right. That doesn't happen all the time. Like, don't even kid ourselves, right? So if I would say something as an administrator, and a teacher had an issue with it, they're supposed to talk to me. But that didn't happen. Now they were going to each other, and it'd be like,
it's
hey,
hard
this
to do
teacher's
that
really mad
sometimes.
at you for this and all this other stuff, right? And so one of the things I really adopted is that as an administrator, I'd always say, I cannot solve problems I do not know exist. So if there is an issue, you tell me. I need to know what is going on so I can help you, but don't complain about it unless you talk to me about it, and then we'll see what we can figure out. So when I actually create those spaces to have that conversation, and I do kind of say it jokingly, but also sincerely, because that challenge, the majority of people, I'm new to the community when I come in there, but I'm trying to model something to them as well. They're not going to challenge me. They're like, this guy's new. I don't want to make him feel uncomfortable and stuff like that. But somebody's going to. And what happens when that somebody does, they're often representing, a group of people. It's not just their challenge, their singular focus. It is actually multiple groups. But then that conversation and having it with them and kind of going back and forth, and not saying like challenge me so I can prove that you're wrong. It's so I can listen to hear what's going on. Because, for example, I'm in your state, and then I go to Texas, and then I go to Canada, and then I don't know the context. I don't know what's going on. So they might say, hey, like, I love this idea, but here we're dealing with this. I'm like, oh, okay, I totally get that. Here's a different way I would approach it because of that. And I think that's where you have to, like, my whole thing is, nobody knows your community better than you. Nobody understands your context. So maybe the thing I said doesn't work the way I said it for you, but don't complain about it without me here. Let me try to give you some feedback. And sometimes, to be honest with you, there's sometimes I'm like, oh, I never thought of that. I never I don't know if you remember this part, but there was the woman who called me a granny basher, which is like my favorite term of all time. I'm like, what's I'm a granny basher?
Oh no, I do remember this. Where it was like, you're
for,
talking about like some people are very experienced and
so
some
like,
people,
hey, we have people who have taught for 30 years who will never change, and then we have new people coming in with new ideas, and I always say, and vice versa. So I don't limit that. So she got caught up in the first statement, never heard the vice versa part. She writes me this beautiful email like about all these good things. And then she says, but I did like this statement, and I found you were kind of granny bashing. And I was like, I love this. I love this lady. And it actually made me, every time so now I say, we have new teachers who are teaching the way that they were taught. And we have, more experienced teachers who are totally, totally doing things different, and vice versa. Because and I think that's why it's important, is because, and I even mentioned this book, someone said, well, now you're offending the newer teachers. And I'm not trying to offend anybody, to be honest with you. I'm trying to push people's thinking. But typically, that is not the order you hear it in. It is like these new teachers with their new ideas and all this other stuff. And all the older teachers, like I've had teachers sitting there asking some questions. And you're like, a lot of these older teachers. And then I'm like, oh, this is not helping you complain about them right now in the way you're complaining about them. Because I don't think older teachers don't try things. So that opportunity, I think that mattered, is saying like, this is something that was said to me, and there's some truth in it, that I understand it, and here's how I change my practice. So it's not about challenge me so I can, tell you you're wrong. It's maybe I'm missing something. Maybe, maybe I need to grow. And I think when people see me change some of the way I approach things, or maybe my viewpoint on something, it opens up doors for them to do the same. Because if this guy's doing it, then we can too. Because that's what we're asking kids, right? If a kid walks in knowing everything, they don't have to come. Right. So that is, so we don't know everything, and that being open to that challenge is really, really powerful.
One of the things that I've kind of learned from you in that, right, is I'm always like, seriously, come and ask me questions, challenge me, push back, right? If you say like, I don't think, I don't know if you understand my environment. And what I've trained myself to do is when people will say something, I'll always say, tell me more about that. Because like sometimes it's like, well, that just blew up everything that I thought was true, and I need a little more time. And so someone's like, this is what I'm dealing with. And I'm like, tell me more, right? Like, I want to know more about this so that I can better have a conversation with you. And then at the end of it, I might say, thank you so much for your perspective. That hasn't been my experience. But like the conversations is like
Totally.
when you actually create those relationships.
Totally. And I think, hey, give me some more context. Like I'm missing
Yeah.
something here. Tell me more about this. And that curiosity in their perspective, I think really is helpful, is really powerful. And I think that is the context of the book is how do we bring people together that maybe don't agree. And then all of a sudden we find those spaces where like, oh yeah, no, now I am with him. Or, hey, I love that you're doing this. I love this approach. Or, hey,
Yeah.
why don't you think reading and writing are important? Yeah, I don't know where you're getting that from, but I'm with you. I'm like totally 100% with you, right? And I think that sometimes there's something you might not have said that is crucial to like, well, this person hates reading and writing. No. I actually love reading and writing. It's really powerful. And I kind of joke in the book like, hey, we don't need to teach kids to read and write because they got spell check. I'm like, yeah, but you got to be in the vicinity.
You got to be in the vicinity.
You got to be in the
So,
vicinity. You can't just like slap the keys and it's going to get a book out of there. So,
one story I love, and you'll love this because we're both basketball players at heart, is another consultant once, like this just reminded me of this, is they were like talking about just like teamwork and the need for teamwork and like showed this video of like his kid playing basketball, right? Like his
yeah,
high school kid playing basketball. And, somebody was like, oh my gosh, like what a ball hog.
right.
And the presenter's like, I was like, okay, like was the bigger person. He's like, I was stewing about it the whole presentation. Like hours later, he's like, and I honestly realized like I have to be the bigger person here. And he's like, hey, after being upset for like hours, he's like, hey, after you saw, the video, like I'd like to know a little bit more about like why you said he was a ball hog. And he's like, what? I said he was
Right.
a ball hawk. Like he always saw where the ball was, right? So this presenter's like, I almost ruined my whole day
Right.
based on like misinterpreting something that somebody said, and it just is just this whole idea of like, let's lean in where when we're there, we're colleagues, just ask us. And I love that.
Well, and that I think it might have been you and I talking about this. Like, if I have an issue, within half a second, I will tell you, right? Like, I will tell you, like, hey, no. And I didn't share this story. It was actually one of the things that really shaped me. I remember complaining about a colleague, and I was coaching basketball at the time.
Okay.
He's coaching volleyball. It's at the end of the season, and he actually he won. His team won.
Okay.
And so our practice got bumped to a later time. I'm like so mad because I got all these plans. I'm like, so I should be happy because our school is like still in it. It's like a big upset, whatever. So I remember his name's Riley, and I'm friends with this guy to this day. And I'm like, so he's athletic director, so he decides the schedule. So I'm mad, right? So I'm in the staff room, and I'm like, stupid Riley, like now I got to come in later, and like why does volleyball get this? And I'm coaching here too, and I'm complaining about him. And then I walk out, and about 2 minutes later, so somebody told him I was complaining about him. He's like, hey, were you complaining about me in the staff room? I'm like, yeah. He's like, if you have a problem with me, talk to my face. I'm like, yeah, you're right. He's like, all right. And now that was it. It was just done. Like, and that was it. It was like, yeah, you're right. I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
And but if we're talking truths here, sometimes in education,
Yeah.
you get mad, we don't have the conversation, and then all of a sudden starts festering, gets way worse, you're a ball hog, and then that whole thing happens, right? And so you start making it worse in your mind, whereas you just address it and deal with it. And it actually, he was right. I shouldn't have done that too, right? Like there's a lot of those stories of like, here's this dumb thing I did, right?
Oh my
It's
gosh,
not
but
like
we all do those
Really?
things all of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think
Okay.
that's why I share the stories, because I'm trying to get you to see like, have I done that? Have I been that person? Right? In some of those cases too. So I think that's the approach to the book, is like, here's some of the things that I used to do that didn't really help me do what I was trying to achieve, and here's some of the opposite, or some of the different strategies I did that really help bring people closer together.
So I want to end at one of my favorite parts. It was like woven. You mentioned it a couple of times in the book, and I love this so much. Your parents owned a Greek restaurant, and a
I
big
knew you were
part
gonna say
of bringing your community together was like, people could be upset with me because we had these radical candor, these radically candid
Yeah.
conversations, but everyone loves mama's baklava. So you have to tell all of us, like,
Yeah.
what was the name of the restaurant? Like, what was the best thing they made, and how you used to have them come into all of your communities to like truly serve the
Yeah.
adults who are constantly showing up for kids.
Yeah, it's actually, in my very first teaching job, I had been there maybe 3 months and my parents were coming to visit. And I just said to my principal, I'm like, hey, my parents, they love cooking for people.
Yeah.
Do you want them to do like a staff meal? He's like, I guess, yeah. And all of a sudden, I'm like the most popular teacher of all time. Everyone loved me. Because my parents were like amazing, amazing cooks. My dad had passed. He was always an amazing cook. My mom still to this day, just amazing food. And it was just interesting because I think it wasn't just about me. It was like people sharing this meal together, having a conversation. But I think sometimes really humanizing. You might have been mad at me, but you're like, and it was like funny because when my mom came when I was principal, she's dropping Georgies. So I'm like, please don't Georgie me. I'm like, yeah, technically their boss. And so people were like, Georgie. And I'm like, no, we're not doing this. But it was just kind of funny because you see, and that was one of the things I talked about. Like, we're all somebody's kid. And I think, those little things we can bring into our community. And, I talked about how it wasn't just when I was a teacher, it was when I was a kid. And we were the only Greek family in this town. And it's one of the things I really regret is my parents would always speak Greek to me. I'm like, don't speak Greek. It's so embarrassing, right? Yeah. And I hated it because, everyone speaks English. We're new to this community, or, my parents are new to this community. Nobody knows them. And one of the things that we had at our school, I can remember this, I think it was like grade 4. We had like a cultural heritage night. So, we talked about, being Greek. And I remember like talking about, parents' experience. I wore like a Greek soldier outfit. I'm not even kidding. Right. And like with the old little pom-poms on the boots and everything. Right. And people just thought it was so cool. And then my parents would cook and then people started really appreciating the different things that we brought to the community. And that really mattered to me because one of the things I say in the book is that schools are not central to the community. They are the community. And when we see that, then it becomes so much more powerful because when I was a kid, I was really embarrassed about this thing that my school helped me to be really proud of to this day. And that really matters to me. So I know it's your podcast. I know I'm like,
okay. As long as we're both clear.
I really appreciate you. And I just love you. I love you. You drove me nuts, but I love you.
Love you right back.
So what really, this is my one question for you. What really resonated with you in this book? Like what stuck out to you in maybe how I shared it or what I shared? And I really like your feedback because I know I wouldn't have asked you, this is if you didn't like it. I'm going to be honest with you. But your enthusiasm for it really made me feel very proud. I'm very excited about this book, and it's because of reviews I have. So like what stuck out to you?
I think that the thing that struck me the most is, we know each other very well. Mm-hmm. I could hear you throughout the entire book. I think in some ways, like because we're trying to make things so much more efficient, there's technology that makes things so much more polished and so much more efficient. And it feels almost like things have to be fast. Mm-hmm. And what is so gorgeous about this whole book is that it is all you. It is like you telling a story, and there's so much like evidence-based practice that is woven in. There's a lot of like practical, this is how we move forward as a community, but it is absolutely your voice. You cannot get this anywhere else. Yeah. So I think some people are like, gosh, is there still a market for books? Right? You can like use these robots and you can get information from them. And like, this is not something that can be replicated quickly or efficiently. It honors your 30 years in education. It is laugh out loud funny at times. Not too funny at times.
Not too funny. Not Joe Pesci funny like a clown. Not like that. Funny.
No, not like a funny like a clown, but like there's some peppering in there. But what I loved about it is that I feel like the more I'm reading recently, articles and books is like, whose voice is it?
Right.
right? Like there's almost like an overuse of some of these tools that are making everything kind of wash out and feel the same. And this is decidedly not the same. It is you all the way through, and there's no other way to get this information in like this spicy, sassy, practical, warm, and always vulnerable way. So I loved it.
Well, you take like a topic that, and I think that's one of the things I wanted to approach. This is a really tough topic.
Yeah.
And I think people are uncomfortable. And to kind of joke about it, my mentor, Kelly Wilkins, she'd always say, if you don't laugh, you'll cry. And I'm like, well, let's choose laughter then. And so that matters to me. Here's something I was thinking about and I really appreciate that. When you were a kid and you were in your high school English class, like, did you have this experience like, hey, like, we don't want your viewpoint. We want you to like kind of eliminate yourself. Don't be using eyes and stuff like that. I don't know if you got that. And now it's kind of like, no, actually you need to do that because basically ChatGPT could write those essays we did. And so that humanness that we like, where we bring our story into it, I almost feel was discouraged when I was in high school, not because our high school teachers are bad, but they didn't see like now you just kind of have a bunch of things that kind of seem the same. Does that make sense? Like, is that something that we're transferring to now? It's where that it's like, there's something way more human about this book. Cause I can tell this is actually like, these are not ChatGPT experiences.
Right.
Right. And I think,
and again, and knowing you well, I know that for sure. But I think that that's something that all of us as writers, as educators are struggling with, which is like, yes, these can be incredible tools for efficiency, but like you can build a house with a hammer and you can also like crack someone's skull with a hammer, right? Just because it's a tool doesn't make it amazing. Right. And I think that we connect as humans, that if we're going to get through any of this conflict, it's as humans. And that means that it's like, you know, human first, efficiency next. And that really shines through. So if anyone's thinking like, oh gosh, I don't have time for a book, I'll just get a summary, it will not be the same, I promise.
Okay. Well, hey, thanks for hosting. I'll see what you do with your outro.
Okay. Thank you so much.
To the guests.
Okay, you ready for my outro?
Let's do the outro.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for coming to the new and
improved version. I do love Katie,
version.
by the way, even though I'm not the host. I do love Katie.
Oh my gosh, my guests are always interrupting me. Okay, outro, take two. Outro. Katie Novak, new host of Education Mindset. Oh, wait.
Innovative Mindset. That's why.
Now I'm just blending our podcast.
Yeah. Let's go. Education Mindset with Katie Couros.
Education Mindset with Katie Novak, formerly the host, George Couros. But truly, everyone, pick up a copy of this book. It is amazing. I promise you, I read it in one sitting. I wanted to read it for like a half hour as I was falling asleep. And I ended up staying until like 1 a.m, just kind of laughing and feeling all the feels. So thank you for coming to my podcast.
Can I share this one last thing? One of my favorite
Of course.
things?
I mean, this is your world. I'm just living in it.
You told me your husband was like, what are you reading?
Yeah, because I was laughing out loud.
That made me feel better. Yeah. Like, you know, you're like, oh, it's George's new book. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Well, I had promised I'm ride or die. I'm like, I'll read it by Saturday. And so it was like Thursday night. And I was like, oh, I better get that started.
Let's go.
I didn't want to put it down.
Well, I appreciate you. Your support means everything to me. So thanks for having me on my podcast. All right, everyone. Bye. Thanks,
Bye,
Katie.
everyone.